back to the vocal vibe. It's been a few weeks, probably actually like a month at this point since we've last gathered here on our little friendship for vocal stuffs. So how are y'all doing overall? What's going on? How's life?
Vocal life or just life?
Just life, man.
Well, it's been great. When mix is getting better, I started with the vocal thing. But yeah, it's all great. But too busy to make content. I really have to find time for that. So tomorrow's the day. Shooting all the content.
There
How
you
about
go.
you guys?
Wise?
Well, I just recovered from a pretty bad cough. Well, I thought I recovered. I thought I recovered yesterday because we went on the live. I didn't really have any cough. And then I went for choir today. I kept coughing the whole session. So,
Oh dear.
but I could still sing, and I still have my, I think, light fry. It was there earlier. I don't know if I do it right now. Maybe I won't have it. But like I kind of got it back a bit. Finally started exercising a bit more as well. So I think but also a bit too busy and also too sick at the time to make content. Though I'm thinking maybe I can just mine some stuff from the TikTok live yesterday. But yeah, that's my life. How about you, Mel?
Man, I just finished the summer camp with these kids. I was basically working like 70-hour weeks because I had like 8-hour shifts with the summer camp, and then I would come home and do like 3 lessons, and then I would get my daughter to sleep. And by the time that was over, I had worked like 12 hours in a singular day, and that was 5 days a week. And then I had Saturdays and Sundays for like five lessons per day, so that was like another 10 hours on top of that. It's just craziness. Crazy. I just finished all that though. I'm done. Like, this is the first week where I've had time to like breathe, which is nice. So, since June.
And today we're gonna be talking about not about breathing.
No.
Right,
No, not
that
breathing.
was a terrible segue. Let's segue to the next part then. Alright.
Oh boy! Today we're talking about the Larynx. Hi, what's up? How you doing? It's me,
Hi,
Larynx.
Larynx.
Yeah, that's a nice segue.
Okay.
So, let's pose a question. Why do we care about the Larynx? Who wants to jump off that question? Why do we care? Like, in general.
Wira, do you care about the Larynx?
Sure hope I do.
I think it's one of your most famous most viral TikTok videos about it.
Oh right, it is. Yeah, well, I said stop singing from your throat, which is obviously a phrase everyone throws out because we can only sing from the throat. But I get it. I get the meaning of the phrase. It's to not raise the larynx when you reach for high notes. So, yeah, we can only sing from the throat, from the larynx. That's why it's important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That-
And since we are singing from the larynx, that means we need to manage it. Because, you know, people talk about, you gotta manage your breath. They talk about that all the time, but it's not necessarily the case. The breath is part of it. You gotta have that going. But the breath has to interact with something to actually get the sound out of your mouth, right? So if you're just breathing, right, this is what your singing will sound like. Oh yeah, there's nothing there. Because nothing's happening. So stuff has to happen in your larynx and around your larynx for actual sound happen. Of course, first and foremost, the vocal cords have to come together. That's not going to be like the huge focus of today's session, I think. But within the larynx, that's where your vocal cords are. They come together, the air goes through, and then you get that vibration. And then after that, then you get to the whole, you know, do you want to raise your larynx really high, or do you want to make it really low, or do you want to do stuff in between, play around with it? Yeah, so primarily you've got, well, I don't know, maybe Mel wants to jump on before I get into all this stuff.
No, you're
Yeah.
totally fine. I was just gonna say, even just besides singing, the larynx like serves as like a passageway to the folds in the trachea itself, so that you can breathe. Because the folds are like in the larynx, and like if the folds aren't working and they're closed all together and there's no muscular coordination to open the cords, air can't get through. You're gonna suffocate and die. So that's kind of important. Kind of need the larynx to be able to breathe. Kind of need the larynx to be able to swallow. That's another thing the larynx has, the epiglottis, which helps you swallow. So those are other functional characteristics that we kind of have to have in order to be humans.
Yeah, and it's also, we also need the folds to close at times
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Like to lift heavy objects. You go, huh? If we don't have that, if our larynx is always open, we can't really lift very efficiently. So it's also important as well to close the folds as well. Yeah.
And also, as Mel was saying, it's a straight ticket or tunnel right to your lungs. So just imagine if you're swallowing and your larynx and your vocal folds don't close, and your epiglottis doesn't close or anything. That's a straight ticket from your mouth for your food into your lungs as well. So you don't want that. And humans are uniquely one of the only animals where this is actually a problem, because we have a unique anatomy that allows us to actually make all the sounds that we make. Most animals just have most mammals have like a long snout, and everything is like combined in a way that doesn't happen. Like, but humans.
This question just popped in my head because I was watching some like videos of talking with apes. Like this woman who talks it. But why can't apes vocalize though?
I mean,
Like the way we do, with the amount of complexity we do.
I think it's actually a brain thing more than anything. Like the way that they were brought up, because humans learn to talk and sing because they're around other people who have learned to talk and sing. We kind of evolved speech and actual communication.
I mean, this gorilla grew up with humans.
Yeah, there are gorillas that grew up with humans. We got a 90-degree angle here, and that allows us to have, for resonance stuff, you can just think of it like, we don't want to go too much into detail, but like whenever you say a vowel, right, you have to have 2 resonant frequencies in your vocal tract, which basically means you need 2 tubes in a sense. So you got we have basically a 90 degrees. It's not really 90 degrees, but you can create constrictions along this 90-degree tube. But for apes and stuff, they just got 1.
Right.
It just goes here.
Interesting.
So you only got 1 resonant frequency. So you don't have enough to play with to create the variety of sounds that we can, which is why you just go ooh, 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 and then that's basically it. You don't get
So it's a resonance thing, not like a larynx thing, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure our larynxes are pretty similar. I'm not an evolutionary biologist, so I take my words with a pinch of salt. So you can get, but yeah, you'll get more information from there. But even as babies, right, our anatomy is kind of follow what the apes are like. You just slowly grow more and more into the human shape that we have as you get older.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I'm slightly deviating, but yeah, there's a lot to go into if you want to, but that's another rabbit hole.
I mean, I think that's.
Let's go back to the larynx. The human one. The human larynx.
Human larynx. Yeah.
I think it's an interesting topic to discuss in the future if we ever do study that. That'd be really cool to talk about, other animals and how their larynxes work too. But yeah, so those are the functional characteristics. That's kind of why we care. So I don't know if anybody here who's watching today, or you guys, I'm sure you guys have heard that you want to sing with a low larynx. That's the best kind of singing possible. Who's heard that before? I'm sure you guys both have heard that before, especially classical technique. And let's bust that myth right there. It really depends on the style of music we're singing in general, right, guys?
Yeah.
So we have rock music usually has a brighter, brattier kind of quality to it, more twang involved in the rock genre. So we can't really go singing, Dream On with a low larynx. I mean, we could, but it would sound really, really bizarre. Dream on, oh. Can you imagine Aerosmith trying to get the A5 with the low larynx?
Yeah,
oh my God.
no, possible, that high.
Yeah, that's crazy high. So.
I mean, you could. It would just sound really bizarre.
It would be like head voice at that point. It wouldn't even really be a mix anymore.
It would be it wouldn't.
Yeah, well,
sound
right.
right.
I could understand why people would say low larynx is the best in the classical world. Well, you don't have mics,
right?
So you can't sing in a high larynx and project over an orchestra. Well, you can. You're gonna probably bust your voice up in a night, but the low larynx is necessary in classical singing because you have to project over an entire orchestra sometimes.
Right.
And so I get where they're coming from, but we don't sing like that, right? We sing with a mic.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's also another thing.
To keep in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for the rockers, you know, if you go and watch all those YouTube videos of like rock vocal coaches teaching people, like a lot of their warm-ups are something like la 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 la. It's like it's just pure brash twang, because like I think one, makes it easier to do things like rasp, like la, like going from la to la is very very.
Simple.
It's not that the line isn't very clear. It's
Yeah.
like you just, if you keep going in that direction, you will probably accidentally stumble into it, and then like just happen. And but of course, even with so I think one thing we can explain, one thing that Wira was saying was, is my camera like flashing or something?
It did for like a second, but it's fine now.
No.
Okay, yeah, never mind. So it's not just me. Okay, just you imagine when you're trying to get your vocal folds in motion, right? Your vocal fold, there's air going through, and then the vocal folds have to vibrate. But just imagine that your vocal folds are high up because of the larynx being pulled up, and they're tight together, and now you're trying to punch a bunch of air through it to make it go loud. It's not really a recipe for a great vocal health. So that's why what we were saying, for those really big sounds, you want that larynx to go down, and then you'll sound. I mean, but the problem is when your larynx goes down, it kind of sounds like this. And even opera singers, they don't sound like this, right? So they have to do some other stuff to make it like they call it like bright dark, chiaroscuro, and so that gives the darkness in a sense. I mean, there's other things, but like that's one part that gives the darkness, and then they add other things like the twang and all that on top. But without that larynx participation, so much of that participation to the larynx, you can get in other ways. I'm not gonna talk about it today. Yeah.
I guess we can move on to the first takeaway with this, is that the low larynx is a setup for like louder sounds.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
high larynx is for the quieter sounds. Unless you, which is not very good. If you do that for a whole night, this is why my friends all lose their voices when they go to karaoke with me, because they just blast their high larynx positions all the time. And so, yeah, you can't get loud with that. But a low larynx, that's when you can make all the loud sounds.
Yeah. And
I love the pose. Sorry, yeah, Mel. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say it's really interesting about that too, that it accommodates. I can't speak the words. A low larynx accommodates louder volumes, but a low larynx also in general loosens the chords and makes them more pulled apart as like a scientific, or like as words. Why can't I speak today? Anatomical experience, it pulls the chords apart. So it's really, really cool that it boosts the resonance and the volume, but it's also like a decompressor as well. So it reduces tension and squeeze and strain too. But go ahead, Wise.
It's not really that. I don't think the low larynx itself increases the volume. It actually just allows you to increase the volume through other means, like using a lot of air blast.
Right.
Because the more air you have, the more your vocal folds smash together in a sense. But if they're really close together and they're smashing, plus the air is smashing through, that's not great. But if your vocal folds are like loose and kind of relaxed and stuff, and then you slap them together a lot, it's still not great. It's not like you're gonna, like, you still have a vocal budget to spend. And like even like the greatest technique and stuff, you can still get hurt if you're just singing all the time in that setup. But you're gonna last longer with that setup, with the lower larynx, looser starting position of the vocal folds. And then after that, they can add in the compression side, just making the vocal folds thicker and putting them closer together relative to that starting point to get it louder, plus more air, more collisions, all that stuff, Yeah. So what I wanted to say earlier is that, Wira was doing this when he was demonstrating the high larynx, his neck was like going up. And that's it's a very common thing you see as well, because Because if imagine your larynx is over here, it's this like little bulge thing. I think we didn't explain that it's over here. So when you swallow, this thing like goes up and down. That's where it is. Yeah, Wira's one is pretty clear. So for guys, it's really clear. Girls, it's there. You just gotta find it. So, but what happens is you just imagine this thing is going all the way up. It will, eventually it'll be stuck there, which is why like you'll see a lot of people with very high larynxes. They'll do that to accommodate the high larynx.
Yeah, pushing up
of
against
course,
the,
if you do, but if you also do this and because you've got your muscles here at your chin, right, and you tense those. I mean, they're your tongue muscles as well. If you're tensing those, that's gonna pull your larynx up even higher. This is like a negative feedback cycle, and just a vicious cycle, and it just keeps getting worse. Especially if you use that as a pitch changer. Okay, oh gosh, my screen is flashing, but yeah, maybe that's a good segue into the pitch changer thing. Is the larynx a pitch changer? Should it be used for that? I don't know.
Naturally is.
Yeah, naturally it is.
Naturally, yes, but it shouldn't. It should not have to be. It needn't be a pitch changer because of chords. Yeah. It needn't. I love that word, needn't. Because the chords should be the pitch changer depending on how stretched out or short they are in general. So the goal, I think, for most singers is to try to keep an unchanging larynx as you go up in pitch. Try to keep it as neutral as possible.
Yeah, or being able to take a larynx position and stay in.
Right, yeah. Take a larynx, keep a larynx, as Justin would say.
Yeah. But of course, for stylistic reasons, maybe you think keeping one larynx is kind of boring. So, yeah, maybe you can play around with it, but you want to be able
to control it. Yeah, control it where you want it to be. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And as well as once you get, like, really high, and then you reach the limit of where your, that larynx position can go, yeah, maybe then you can, like, start playing around with getting it higher and stuff, because you are already starting at a kind of comfortable place, and then like you're already sky high, and then maybe, I mean, no one can really tell that you're using high larynx at a certain point, probably because it's just so high. So yeah,
I always like to equate it like a wine bottle with like a cork in it. If your larynx is already if there's a lot of like liquid in the bottle and the larynx, which is the cork, is already pretty high up, and you keep adding more water, or in this case going up in pitch, and it's already high up, it's going to squeeze the top really, really quickly. It's not going to be able to go anywhere. It's going to be stuck there, like you were saying earlier. But if you're able to push the cork down as you add the water, or keep the larynx at a more neutral to low level, and water rises, the larynx will eventually rise too, but it will have more space to rise, so it'll be a lot less tension and a lot less squeeze overall.
That's a very interesting analogy. I've never heard that before.
I need to digest it a bit more, but yeah, I think the beginning part makes sense. So, but I think that it's also like, people talk about the breath being important and stuff, and ultimately the larynx is also something that you balance against the breath considerations. So when some people, if you look online, they talk about breath management and all that, they are also talking about how tightly your vocal folds are closed, and so if your larynx is higher up, actually, you're gonna leak less air because, as we said earlier, your vocal folds are kind of tighter, right? So, which is kind of, I guess, in a sense that also helps the, how Wira was saying, it facilitates softer sounds. Not only does it because the vocal folds are tighter, help the sound be a bit stronger, even though you're not blasting so much air. But also you can last a bit longer because you're not blasting so much air. It's and because you're basically creating a little valve for the air to go through. It's kind of like how if you try to blast out all your air like that, versus if you with your lips really closed. You can just imagine those lips are like over here in your vocal folds. So I thought it was quite interesting. Like the word in German for vocal folds is actually like lip, voice lips. Like
really? Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like, to me, you can just imagine your lips are there. They're just twisted 90 degrees, and they're just over here. They do basically. It's kind of similar to what your vocal folds can do, and yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. Yeah, that's one of the cool things the larynx can do. But Mel, do we have any other questions that we wanted to address on the larynx?
Well, I was going to talk about, if you guys are okay with talking about it here today, it's not really on the list we have, but the differences between brightness with the larynx versus nasal resonance, because that's a huge topic we can kind of dive into a little bit, if you guys want to.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know,
sure. But before that, I thought I might address this as well because we said that a low larynx makes the sound like a more leaky quality, and a high larynx is tighter. But again, those are tendencies.
Right.
Yep.
Part of being a singer is to actually fight that.
Yeah.
So we can have a low
Yep.
larynx and, low larynx. And compressing it. And also like a
High larynx, high larynx, high larynx, but having it breathing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool.
so, yeah, and it's a lot of fun experimenting with all these sort of stuff. I think that's what opera singers do. They have a low larynx, and they're compressed, which is like, hold on, what? And pop singers are usually
High larynx and breathing, which is like, that's not supposed to do that. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to do that.
but they do. So, yeah.
Or they might not even be breathy if they're belting, but they are still having a high larynx, but they're managing that
Very
such
well.
as not like too much, It's like you have to really coordinate just nice that you can get louder, at least with the mic and everything. Maybe it's not enough to project over an orchestra, but it's still pretty loud. And you're loud, but you're not destroying your vocal cords in the process. It takes that coordination. It's like Wira said, it's a tendency.
Yeah, you want to do
Then-
many exercises on that? Let's do some
exercises.
exercises for anyone here listening.
Okay.
Let's do a
Okay.
low larynx compressed one.
Sure. We can do a goog. G-U-U-G,
Yeah.
goog.
Yeah.
I like that one. Goog.
Classic, yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna start down here. I probably won't be able to get very strong down here, but that's fine. Go, go, go. 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 And we just keep taking that higher. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. So you have that nice depth and thickness and also low larynx with that exercise. And you can take that pretty high before it starts to get a bit trickier. There's a tendency that Justin talked about when the larynx might need to start to lift a little bit. And for male singers, typically in big bold letters, because again, this is different for everybody, but typically it's around like a B flat or B, even A, B flat, and B, or like the three notes where it starts to be like, maybe you can start to lift a little bit. You don't have to be super dark.
I think we're third octave, right? Not the fourth.
What? It'll be what is it?
Justin said
Wait.
the discipline for
I
a
think we
low
thought,
larynx
yeah.
should be around an A for a
go
B
with-
flat or B.
You should get up really high. Yeah, it shouldn't. You should not be going up once you hit A3. That's way too low. Yeah.
Oh.
That's way too low.
Yeah, so around A4, B flat, or B4 should be the discipline for controlling the larynx position, and then you can start to lift. For females, it's supposed to be up until around, he said, E flat, which is crazy. But, yeah, that's what he was mentioning before.
Wait, let me try. So that's my larynx is over here. That's a C.
Yeah.
C5 there.
Yeah.
So it's possible to keep it all the way down.
Yeah,
That's a
at that
G5
point, that'd be
all
like
the
a
way down.
more a head
Yeah.
voice kind of dominant
It
sound.
sounds like a head voice. It sounds
Yeah.
like a head voice. Already.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
to keep it in a mix or keep it in that stronger, more compressed
Yeah.
variation.
Yeah.
Around
Yeah.
that.
It's just that stronger coordination, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the vowel you're doing too, I guess.
I mean, there are only
like-
maybe 4 low larynx vowels really though. There's like the o, the oo, the aw, and then there's like an o.
So yeah, so if you do it in an ah or ah, then you
Ah is
like,
more bright than aw. There's a
Ah.
difference. Yeah.
or aw rather
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like all like in what's a good word that has aw in it? Oh man, yeah, okay, that's good enough. Oh yeah, oh man, yeah, so, like that. I think the formants are forget it. Yeah, but the like point where it turns like into a head voice sounding thing is the highest you can get with the low larynx stuff. So maybe it won't sound like a belt, but it will sound bigger than the rest. So you might. So I know that we were saying goog goog goog, but as you saw, Mel's mouth also got quite big. Goog goog goog. So you can play around with it.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be goog 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 exactly.
Yeah.
If you do goog goog goog, it'll flip really fast. So just play around with it, you know. For different people,
Yeah.
it'll be. Oh goodness, my screen keeps flashing. Sorry. Okay, pointing that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's a.
Yeah, sure. Let's go to high larynx now.
Okay. All right. Sure. Why not? Let's do it. Okay.
Hi, Larynx,
Right.
but it's breathy.
Oh, breathy.
Breathy,
How about a
alright.
ha? H-A-A ha. That sounds like a good one.
Alright.
I'll go. Ha.
Why don't you do this?
Ah. Ah.
Oh yeah. Or do like a just really dig into the H.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know why I'm still trying to talk my tongue out.
Hello.
Ah.
Hi guys.
And there's also the staccato, which is also great for decompression too, so you can use that
Yeah.
as a benefit as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. So there's a couple
Yeah.
exercises. We got the go
Right,
go
and it
for a
should
little
never
bit.
feel like. Oh boy. Yeah, like. Oh. You can try speaking it first,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then putting it on pitch. So yeah, we can try all that. And of course, those are the extreme.
I remember reading one place,
Oh my God.
watching one video where he was like, you know, if you sing too bright all the time, the only thing you're gonna have is ear problems. So it's like, cause you're gonna this is like this like buzzing sound, and then like that might screw your ears if you're like you have no ear protection and you're like a confined place.
That actually brings up a really cool topic I wanted to ask you about, since you're the harmonic professor over here, Weiss.
I'm not a professor, but
I mean,
know some
like,
stuff.
yeah, but like, you know what I mean.
Know some stuff.
Whenever I sing my high notes, I feel like my ears get slightly blocked sometimes. Like I feel like someone's gently pressing against my ears. I don't know if that's a resonance thing
Ooh.
or like a harmonic thing or what that is.
I
Oh.
have so for me, right, when I raise my soft palate, I actually get a clearing in my ears, because when your soft palate, there's actually these like tubes that go up to your ears that link, so, you know, like your ear, nose, throat are all like linked and stuff. There's these tubes, I think they're called eustachian tubes or something, EUSTACHIAN tubes. And then like when you close it, then all the air that's in there gets kind of like shoved out. And then like for me, it clears the ear pressure, the air pressure in the ears. I have a feeling it might be somewhat linked to that, but I don't know for sure. That one, that's beyond my expertise. So,
Okay.
it sounds like an
Yeah,
air
let's
pressure
move
thing.
back. Mel wants
Yeah.
to continue to another
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to talk about the brightness and
Versus nasal
nasality or
resonance.
nasal resonance. Or
All right,
nasal-
everybody,
yeah.
hold on one second. I'm gonna make everybody at home for just a second. Get your keyboards ready, warriors of typing at home. Okay, I'm gonna make two sounds. Okay, and I'm gonna want you to tell me which one you think is nasal and which one tell me you think is bright. So I'm gonna make two sounds. Here we go. Here's the first one. You guys don't say a word. Shh. Don't say anything. All right. Ha. All right, in the comments down below, write which one you think is nasal and which one you think is bright. And let's give it like 5 seconds for everybody to type. You're typing at your computer. You're typing at your computer in the comments what you think it is. Okay. All right, spoiler alert. Let's go. What do we got, guys? Which one is nasal? Which one is bright?
Oh no, I can't tell. Okay. Yeah. So, of course, the one everyone will think. Let me be the audience surrogate. All right.
Okay.
So, yeah, the one was the nasal one, cause you know
Yeah,
SpongeBob's nasal, right? Like, that's nasal, isn't it? So,
No, it's not.
what do you say, Wira? Oh, it's not. You already told me.
Yeah, I have lots of friends who talk like this. They're very nasal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait a
So,
second. Hold on. No, it's not.
But,
It's
yeah.
not nasal even a little bit unless we have like an M or N consonant in the words or sound that we're making somewhere in there. It's not.
Well, it might be a bit, but like
Yeah, but like
that's not the predominant.
Yeah,
Definitely
no.
not the predominant.
Definitely bright. This is a bright sound. Oh my god. Hi. I'm speaking with a high larynx and
Hi.
bright, twangy kind of quality. This has really not much to do with the nose at all, unless again I throw like an N or an M in there somewhere, then it might have a tiny bit, but like overall it's pretty clear, pretty just bright in general, and it's about the larynx, not the soft palate.
Now, if I had a little bit of a humming in my nose, like something like that, I have nasal resonance. You get like this buzzy, muted. What?
It sounded like you said. It sounded like you said you have eagle resonance.
I have the hardest time like enunciating consonants when I'm trying to do nasal resonance. I don't know why.
No, like that's the thing because, remember how I talked about with the whole apes and stuff, with if you do nasal resonance, it's like you are the ape. Well, we are apes, but like, it's like you are the not human apes that like just have one tube, because the nose like it has one length. You can't like constrict it in multiple parts
Right.
unless you like
Right.
manually put your fingers there or something. So, unlike here, where our whole throat is like here and your tongue can do all sorts of weird things, your soft palate can move, all that stuff. That's not gonna happen with the nose. So your nose is gonna make your, if you're not careful with it, you can become very muddled and no one can understand what you're saying because like that's like it just sounds like a mumble. But if you combine it and you don't like add so much of it, yeah, as I think Mel was showing you earlier, it doesn't necessarily have to be, well, okay, did we say the second one is the nasal one? We did say the second one's the nasal one, right?
Well, I mean, if the first one's the bright one, that just kind of gives you, like,
Yeah, I
logic
know,
would be
but-
that the second would be the nasal.
Let's just say it. Yeah. So
the second one's the nasal one.
That one.
Yeah.
The second one's the nasal one. Of course, you can have it like nasal and but like you can also
have a low larynx and
the low larynx and also nasal. Like it's kind of weird sounding, but you can like when you close your nose, the sound will change. That's how you know it's nasal. It's why when you have a nose block, then like this part of my block, like if you have nasal resonance to start, if you're already speaking with some sound going to your nose, and you're like, hello there, my name is blah blah blah, and then I like, oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like if I talk like this normally, you won't even think it's nasal until I block my nose. So it's only when I block my nose you think it's nasal, but actually it's because it's the remnant sound that's going through the mouth. Because some sound goes to the nose, some goes to the mouth, and the rest of the throat. So so that's the origin of the nasal.
So let's summarize those type of sounds that we could make. We could make a bright sound.
With nasal.
Hello.
No nasal.
Hello no nasal?
there. This is
No
no
nasal.
no nasal at all. Hello
Ah,
there. Hey there,
hello.
guys.
Hello,
Like,
hello,
there's
hello.
nothing here when I change it.
Bright
Ah.
sound. No nasal, right? Oh well, I said no.
No, because you
nasal.
said N. Because the word nasal has the word N, the letter N in
Yeah,
it, so
well.
it's kind of hard to.
There we go.
Hi,
That's
hello,
yeah.
hello, 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 hello. Hi, 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 hi.
Oh, yeah, hello,
Yeah.
And let's do
Yeah.
a neutral sound with nasal resonance.
Hello, you come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding, and you told me to have a neutral larynx with nasal resonance.
Let's do a bright plus nasal.
I am a robot. Hello, I am a robot. How are you?
Oh yeah, there's that one.
It's pretty hard to. It's gonna be hard for listeners actually to get this right away. Bright only and bright plus nasal resonance. So why don't we
Yeah.
do one without the nasal, one with?
Okay.
Let's see if you guys can pick it up. So Mel, you can take it away first, I guess.
Okay. Hi, how are you? How's it going?
Hi.
How are you? How's it going?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You can also hear how with Mel's example, it's quite a good example because the nasal one actually makes it a bit duller.
Yep.
Like you can tell it becomes a bit softer because the nose, the stuff in the nose, you can just imagine it's like a whole maze of random, you know, I don't know what you call it, but your tissues and everything. You know, your air has to go in and get filtered by the nose, so it's got to go through a long passageway, and that means a lot of room for the sound to get muffled. And so, you actually have like, if you put everything into the nose, the net result is that the sound actually gets softer, as opposed to when you have everything in the mouth.
Right.
But is the objective of singing to be loud all the time? You know,
No.
that's a philosophical question. Maybe not, but it depends on you. Depends on your stance.
But yeah, so let's tie this to the larynx. What does this have to do with the larynx episode?
For which one, nasal or brightness? Because the answer for nasal is literally nothing. If you want to have nasal
Exactly.
resonance, the larynx is not involved, like, whatsoever. It's not.
But
If
there
you-
are tendencies because
There are
people, what happens is, because with the nasal, as I was saying, the sound can get softer, which means because some people, they want to sing loud. They want to sing strong and like powerful all the time. So what might happen is that because your sound is getting weaker because it's in the nose, and then you're like, well, I want to get stronger. I need to get louder, and then like you do this counter thing. And so there's some, if you ask some people to try to do a pure nasal sound without raising the larynx at the same time, it's very hard for some people. Like,
Yeah.
this one, there's the coupling in the mind that like this is how the body works. Like your nose, your larynx, it's like this is the nasal sound, you know. And so they will put some stuff in their nose, but they will also put stuff.
In the
I mean, they
larynx.
also raise their larynx to get the brighter sound.
Right.
And then it's like, because most people don't know how their body works. I mean, I wouldn't say I know how my body works and everything, but like, with the voice especially, it's like notoriously bad, you know? We just can't really feel, I know, we feel what's going on, but usually our interpretation of that is wrong. So that tends to create some weird things. And also, I think for the soft palate stuff, right? So when we say soft palate, it's this passage into your nose. So you can imagine it here. So if you go into a mirror and you do a K sound, you'll see something like touching the back of your tongue and going back up. That's your soft palate. And if you do an NG sound, then you can see also like an NG and a K sound are basically the same, but it's just like the first part of the sound is basically the same. So if you have your tongue touch your soft palate, and you can let air go into your nose. But if you just like slap it off, then your
Oh,
tongue
so
does
that's
that.
why the K consonant helps. The consonant helps to raise the soft palate in general. There's like a little bit of like a puff of air that I didn't see. My coach Matt told me that.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. It
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah.
So for some people it does. Like I have tried it before, and there are times when I do a k, and like it just goes up a slight bit. But I think people also do like an inhaled K, like a k. Okay, maybe not inhaled. I just like swallowed saliva there. That's a very bad idea. But like a slight, like a surprise K. Like to me it doesn't. I think it's a bit unreliable. But for some people it works. But what I wanted to say is that sometimes you'll hear vocal coaches or people who haven't like studied like the voice anatomy that much. They'll say things like, you do exercises like the yawn or the gug thing in order to raise your soft palate. And the thing is that most people confuse the two things. So raising the soft palate, what it does is it closes off the nasal passage so your air doesn't go into your nose. But that doesn't mean that it makes you brighter or darker or anything. But the tendency is to conflate the two, to say if you raise your soft palate, you get darker, and if you lower your soft palate, you get brighter. But that's not.
Not at all.
Well, it might happen. It depends on the vowel you're doing.
Yeah.
Because remember I said the nose has like one set of resonant frequency, like one resonant frequency. I mean, there's like the multiplication and stuff, but like there's one main resonant frequency that you can hear. And then if your vowel is like an oo or something where the frequencies are very low, then it will make it sound brighter. Or you do like a e, is like it doesn't necessarily make it brighter. It could, but like it's just adding another layer of frequencies, and those frequencies are like really dull. Like it's spread out as well, so it's it could make you brighter. It might not.
I kind of want to look at this on a spectrogram now, like using nasal resonance versus not using nasal resonance to see what's boosted. That'd be kind of cool.
You can like
But
you
yeah,
can do
I
a,
think
like
we have
hum.
another takeaway from that discussion, and that the brightness and the darkness comes from the larynx position, folks.
Yep.
If you want to have a darker sound,
Yeah.
lower your larynx. We have a lot of let's mention some singers with a low larynx.
Elvis Presley. Yo.
Elvis, yeah.
Wise men say. Who else? Josh Groban would be one of our
Neutral or low, yeah.
neutral too low, -1 maybe. I'd say -1.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, slight low
So-
larynx. Who else?
Like maybe every opera singer.
Maybe every opera singer, like ever in the history of opera.
Yeah.
Every
Well, maybe
opera
not all, but like, or they're either neutral or very low. So it's like, yeah. So, but
But yeah, we
they are
have
still
those-
they're not necessarily like dark sounding.
Now,
That's how yeah.
Elvis, Josh Groban, any legit musical theater singers singing low larynx.
I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. I don't know off the top of my head. Probably more traditional style musical theater will probably be, again, more leaning more towards classical. So then, yeah, that would probably be a lower larynx. I can't think of anything specific, but yeah.
The point here, like anything you can do, I can do better. Oh, just a slightly.
Yeah, like a
slightly
negative,
lower
like
larynx.
-1 kind of position. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
we didn't
anything
explain the
you can
minus
do,
one.
I can do better. That will be a neutral larynx. Anything you can do, I can do better. There's a little bit of in it. So
But-
yeah, I mean, we're talking low larynx, high larynx. It doesn't have to be all the way low,
Right.
like this.
Yeah.
A low larynx could be something like this, you know. It's just slightly lowered.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Like,
see. Let's go neutral. Let's go neutral.
Taylor Swift could be a great example of somebody who uses neutral larynx quite a bit. Yeah, really, yes.
She does go high at the belts.
Yeah, does she?
Yeah, but for the most part, like her like mid-range and like lower-ish
Yeah.
notes are like very much neutral.
Her belts go pretty like larynx go.
Huh. I mean, to be fair though, like for a guy's starting larynx position and a girl's starting larynx position will be like, I mean, it's not like the position will be relatively the same to your body, but you have you'll have a smaller vocal tract and everything. So, like, how I perceive it may be a bit skewed because I'm like, you know, for me this is a neutral larynx, or actually maybe it's a neutral larynx right now, or slightly lowered actually. But like for Mel, maybe can you do something which is a neutral larynx for you, like what
I mean,
that sounds like?
most of your people's like depending on what your timbre is, your talking voice is basically, unless you're like changing the frequencies of the pitch or like the vowel or something. Your talking voice for the most part is a neutral larynx. Like your speaking voice is the closest you can get to a neutral larynx. So everybody's speaking voice can something very close to what you get. Oh my god, what you could consider to be a neutral larynx. So my speaking voice, this is if I just say, "Hello, how are you?" This is a neutral larynx position. Hi. If I wanted to make it brighter, I could. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, if I would imitate the "Hello, how are you?" This is my actually it's like a +1 for me. It goes up a lot. Yeah, so if I were to imitate Mel's voice,
Yes.
that would be a +1 for me. So it's
Yeah.
not like a science.
No.
So
No,
when
it's
we say
your
+1, it
individual.
just means higher.
Right.
Yeah, it's an individual thing. So it's like you listen to that singer and it's like, all right, in my voice, that would be X larynx position. I think that's the only thing you could say with like quite a bit of certainty, because it could be like, yeah, we think that Elvis has a -1 larynx position. Who knows? Maybe Elvis's like neck is just really long or something. I don't know. Like it's because the real changer is not. I mean, it's not the larynx itself. It's how long this is. Like from your larynx to the mouth. Like the longer that distance is, the lower the larynx is perceived to be. In a sense, the darker it is. Because it's just
Yes, I do think
longer.
it's. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it is relative to the person.
Right.
yeah.
So yeah, this is my neutral larynx, and if I go lower larynx, you can hear it's a bit altered now. Yeah.
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 In my in my voice, who knows, like a bass would have that quality, and it would
Yeah.
say it's a neutral larynx. I don't know.
Yeah, to them that would
Yeah.
be their neutral larynx. You have your own like neutral larynx for your voice. I
Yeah.
have my own for mine. You have your. If I was to listen to you talking, I would personally say that your voice is a bit brighter in timbre, which would make sense because that's what it sounds like to me. But as your voice is your perception of what you would consider a neutral larynx. That's kind of what I was kind of, trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, there's also the twang element. I think that Wira has a lot, and actually all of us have quite a bit of twang. I think Wira is like this is quite prominent. Where, yeah, it kind of like your sound is this very specific sound to it.
I'm gonna speak like
but-
this now.
I made Wira self-conscious.
Oh no.
but yeah, it's like I mean the way we naturally speak is gonna have a lot of twang. So like even if our larynxes are neutral, it might sound brighter.
To somebody
So,
else. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and like so it's like the twang can also color the perception of what the larynx position is.
Yeah.
And you can maybe make it brighter with more of the twang, less of the larynx. Like you can play around with these things.
Right.
Like see what works for you. Like
Yeah.
and maybe keeping a neutral larynx and just a lot of twang is a more comfortable way of replicating a very high larynx sound.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of ways. All roads lead to Rome, right? Like there's a lot of ways to the same thing.
Right.
Many
Yeah.
ways to skin a cat. That's not as
Okay.
safe
Whoa.
analogy, but yeah.
Jeez. What?
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. But that's a valid saying.
I guess.
Don't skin cats, guys. That's not nice.
Okay. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's give some examples of a neutral larynx singer or singers.
Mm.
Yeah, I said Taylor, depending on what she's doing in her voice, but for the most
Yeah.
part, I would say that she's got kind of a neutral sound. What's the guy who does waving through a window? Ben Platt, is that his name?
Oh yeah, Ben Platt.
Ben Platt has, for the most part, a neutral larynx, unless he's going up crazy high in pitch. But for the most part, I think he's
Yeah, he
pretty
does
neutral.
raise his larynx a little bit. We're in a slam on the break. Right, yeah. He does have just a lighter voice in general.
Yeah.
So to me, he sounds like he's in a +1. But that's only because I have a lower voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get what you're saying, Wise. I think that's really true. Because when you
Yeah.
hear a singer that has naturally a lighter voice, you're like, okay, that's a +1 larynx. Even though for them it's a neutral one. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like because I had a student before who like this voice was like this, but like I asked her to check like where her larynx was, and objectively speaking, it was neutral for her. Like it was her starting point was that. So maybe there's a lot of twang going on as well. And so
Right.
like, you know, if the aim is to like move away from that overly bright sound, because some people don't want to sound overly bright and they think it's nasal or whatever,
Right.
then maybe then the solution for those people might not be, you know, I mean, it could be part of it, like lowering the larynx might not solve everything,
Right.
because it's already like so bright to start with.
Right.
And then you have to start looking at the twang, you have to start looking at the compression, you have to start looking at everything else at the same time. Yeah, so larynx is one part of the puzzle, which I think we're piecing together slowly
Yeah.
in this podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks, let's go to high larynx.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see here.
Singers with a high larynx. Oh, a lot of.
Are you talking about singers? Singers with high
Yeah,
larynx?
A
singers.
lot
The
of
high
Broadway
larynx.
singers and like the really musical theater-esque people who have like those crazy.
Say, let's give a pop singer, Ariana Grande.
Oh yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Sing
I think she uses
high
nasal at
larynx.
the same time as well.
Yeah,
so.
nasal high larynx for sure. Very nice riff, boys. Very,
Guy
very
with the high
nice.
But it did sound like Ariana.
Bruno
Close
Mars.
enough.
I think
Yeah.
he does.
I
yeah.
should've bought you flowers. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when Mel does it, it sounds effortless. What? But yeah.
I
Yeah,
just,
it's,
I didn't even, I just whispered it. I was like, I should have bought you flowers.
I should have bought
Yeah.
you flowers. Oh, good.
Yeah, when he does it, when like Bruno does it, it's like it sounds like, like.
Oh, he's got
Sounds
the
like
grit.
he's-
Yeah, he's got the false pull. That's why. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
sounds like
false
he's
false,
dying,
like-
but he's
60
so easy
40
for-
mix almost. It's like chestier than a 50-50,
Right.
but it's not like a chest dominant mix.
Right.
It's kind of like middle
It's
larynx.
so hard. I can't really imitate Bruno Mars's voice straight up. Like that one is, it's like it's high larynx and it's quite. I don't know if it's loud in real life, but
Can I-
it's pretty like compressed sounding.
Can I show you guys
Yeah.
something really cool, actually?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
yeah.
There's a singer called Wei Ani. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She went on AGT or American Idol or something. I don't know. But
Wei,
Wei Ani.
Wei what?
Wei
Turn
Ani.
on.
Wei Ani?
Uh-huh.
How
Show
do you
you.
spell that?
I got it. Hold on. I got you. This is. Hold on.
What note is this, folks?
Tell us who you are.
My name is Wei Ani, and I'm from Harlem, New York.
Unbelievable.
Is that your real? But that is your real.
This is my real speaking voice, yes.
Oh my God.
I think I've heard this person
Had
before.
that voice.
About 20, 23 years, 22
Very
years
high
ago.
larynx speaking voice.
Now hold on. Let me fast forward a little bit. That's her.
Same person. Wow.
Yeah. She's got so much control. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, maybe we can make another point here. I think some people can, I don't know, like, identify with the larynx position.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because I remember, I think it was a few years ago, yeah, I was talking like this, man, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what's up, man? What do you do? And I think I can mention one artist, a really famous musician, Jake Collier. You guys ever heard Jake Collier?
Oh, you do a good imitation of him. Do the frog imitation. I don't know. You do like
The frog
froggy voice.
imitation. What is this?
Just
It's cold here. He plays all sorts of chords. Yeah, he sings, he speaks and sings in like a low larynx, like all the time. Yeah.
Interesting.
And so I used to speak like that because I used to listen to his talks like for months on end. I'm just picking it up and almost identifying with it. So I'd be like, yeah, I think so. My friends would be like, yeah. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. I just remembered this. I kind of forgot about this, but I did used to speak with a low larynx. Until I kind of grew out of it. And I remember a time when I was speaking with a higher larynx, you know, like a higher larynx. And, which is funny. So, yeah, I really think that it is malleable. Your speaking voice. is
malleable. Malleable.
Malleable.
Malleable. Thank you.
All right,
Well, I
tonight.
was always taught malleable because I guess Indonesian.
Okay, now I'm not gonna say what I wanted to say. So- oh gosh.
But yeah. What do you think, folks?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that Wei Ani, she mentioned that that's been her voice her entire life. So I don't know if she necessarily picked that. Maybe she picked it up from people around her who had brighter larynxes when she was very, very young, like a toddler, and that's how she just learned to speak in general with a brighter sound. That was her brighter timbre, and then she learned to control the depth when she was singing, which is really, really cool. She learned to have that control. So I really think a lot of timbres, like natural timbres, are based off of not only body shape and overall like structure of the body, but also just how you were brought up and who you grew up around as well.
Yes. Exactly. And also like you have to consider the native language of people as well. Like different languages have different tendencies as well. Like if you listen to like say Russian versus like English, like the dos vidanya versus hey guys, like the tendency is like the complete opposite, you know? And then you've got like Southeast Asian accents, you got like Vietnamese and Thai. You just imagine those are like just full on twang. I remember I was standing next to I can't remember Thai or Vietnamese guy. My ears were getting destroyed because how much twang the guy was using. It was like so loud. I was like, what? I had to like stare. It was a bit creepy. But I was like, looking at his larynx. Seems pretty neutral. I think it's probably the twang, but like it's so loud. And then it's like, yeah. And I mean, some like languages have vowels that we use in our languages. They can be darker or brighter, or like even where your consonants are. Like for English, people tend to say like what's it, T's, S's with their, like I don't, but like people tend to do with their tongue at the back of their teeth, so like a t or s sound. But like in European, like opera, kind of like Italian and stuff, they'll put their tongue under their teeth for some of them, like for like some like not everyone. I don't think it's a universal rule, but like I think there's a greater tendency to make it like more dental sounds. It sounds almost the same, but like it will suddenly shift things like in your throat. It's like, I mean, you can hear also like Korean singers, Filipino singers, and like American singers. They sound kind of different,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
or like the general sound is different. Like of course within each group, there's so much variation.
Yeah.
But like, I think that it's exactly as you said. It's how you're brought up. Like, who's around you? Who are you imitating?
Right.
Remember for vibrato as well, there was I think Justin Stoney was like, why, you know, people say vibrato is natural, but why is it that most people's vibrato sounds like their Spotify playlist vibrato? You know, it's just you imitate who you hear,
Right.
and then of course, also there's the social pressure thing, because if people around you speak like this and you don't speak like them, you will be ostracized for it.
Right. Exactly.
You might be. It might be, depending on like
Yeah.
the group. Yeah, that's what happened with me, and I think it happens to a lot of people as well. So it's like, yeah, there's the but also I think it's exactly as Wira said. You identify with the particular, like, you know, there's people who want to change their voices entirely. Like Wira went through multiple phases of that. And then you have the people who are going through like, I wouldn't say I'm like super qualified to talk about this, but you know, people going through like gender transitions and stuff. Like, you just imagine, they have this, they identify with a particular, there could be a voice thing for some people. Maybe they want to change their voice to sound more like the image they have in their head. That might involve a higher larynx position or a lower larynx
Yep.
position, depending on which way they want to go.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, that's pretty heavy now. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I honestly think that it's definitely, like, the larynx height and the larynx resonance and overall brightness and stuff is definitely something you can change over time. You can definitely play around with it and
Yeah,
learn
it
to
is
control it. That's kind of the whole
biggest.
point. Yeah.
The biggest change you can make,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
from your voice, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the larynx position.
Yeah.
So
like your whole
you wanna
life.
sound. Well, I don't know if that sounds nice and tough, honestly.
Nice and tough, sounds totally. Well, what's up,
the Patrick Star voice.
That's a grunt right there.
Guys.
No, this is Patrick. Okay.
But yeah, one more thing I'll add is, I realize when I speak Indonesian, because we're all so polite,
Yeah.
we raise our larynx all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like
hello,
Indonesians
sir.
have, yeah, there's more of a twang to, because like, you know, in Singapore there's a huge Malay population, and like, I mean, of course in Malaysia there'll be way more Malay, there's a greater Malay population, but when you hear the different, like Indonesian and Malay, like the resonance is different. Like,
I think there's
like
also a
it-
degree of, sorry, why is it when you cut you off there?
No, yeah, continue.
I think there's also a degree of having brighter sounds for like being polite in general, because I know that I used to work at
Yeah.
a fast food restaurant, and when I'm talking to guests or customers, I always was like, hi, welcome to so-and-so restaurant, how can I help you today? And it's a lot brighter and sweeter in general, and it just sounds a lot more uplifting and, you know, like excited and like pleasant in general to a lot of people. Like, hi, how are you? How can I help you? Kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like, that's
Can
just...
you imagine if a customer serves a, hey man, how are you?
What's up? Can I get you
Hey.
can I get you a 10-calorie nugget or something? I don't know. I'm like, what's up? Like,
But yeah, well, we gotta wrap this up, folks.
Yeah.
I've gotta go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And, any final remarks on larynx?
I think that it not only will change your singing to consider the larynx, but it could also change, you know, I mean, you know, earlier we were talking about how we are habituated with a certain larynx position, and it's like, if you don't like your voice as is now, then your larynx position might not just change your singing voice. It might even change your speaking voice. It might have an even greater impact on your life, I think.
Right.
And I think just to add one last thing to what Mel was saying about the like higher larynx to sound a bit more gentle and stuff. When people want to be more authoritative, then you have that deeper voice, right? I mean, and one thing you'll notice also when Wira did the examples of the higher larynx and when I did the example of the lower larynx, we naturally changed our pitch as well.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
it just naturally happened. I'm not like consciously thinking about it. So with singing, you want to at the start at least, be able to fight that tendency to go up and down in pitch together with your larynx.
Yep.
But in real life, you know, if that's not your aim to become like a great technical singer or whatever, that might not be your goal. Then, like, yeah, just be aware of these tendencies. And it's just really cool to know that they exist and that these things can change. And I think that's probably really important for those people who are wondering, can my voice be changed? Is it too late for me to go for voice lessons, or is it too late for me to get, you know, better, or you know, better in whatever sense you may be thinking of? Because these things can change. It's with training, with habits, and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll give a larynx exercise for it. Pass on to all the finish the podcast, but we'll do we can try a mum, and let's say 1 3 5 3 1, and we're gonna change the larynx position all like every cycle. So let's go from low, let's jump to high, and let's go to like neutral. So we're gonna do something like. And there is a tendency for my students do this all the time. To change the embouchure as well. I don't know if you guys deal with this, but I have students who do that all the time.
For sure. Yep.
Keep it like this all the way. All the way. Mouth position, take that. And experiment with that. You're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Sure.
I would say even if you can't do that exercise right now, you can like try the other things, the googs and the things that Mel was giving. Was a ha ha ha. And then once you get good at that stuff, then you can like start going back to see, can I do that exercise that Wira just gave as well? That can be like a check. Because if you're already really good at this stuff, you could probably do it straight away. But if not, yeah. Oh, what is that?
Car.
Sorry,
It's a car. Cars.
Sounded kind of scary.
Yeah, and of course that's like a
But yeah.
really advanced one. You can try to piece them out first. Maybe do one with the low larynx. One with the high larynx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before you combine them together into
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So yeah, have fun
Yeah.
with that. No?
Yeah. So the message of the podcast today is that your larynx is a huge style changer. You are definitely capable of manipulating how high or low it is, what kind of quality of resonance you want to have in the voice. And why are you laughing? Why?
I don't know, it sounds like a car crash.
It's just, it's raining and the cars are driving through the water. That's all that's happening, I swear.
I don't know, it sounds like
But yeah, people are definitely capable of changing. People are definitely capable of changing the overall style and resonance of their voice with the larynx, and that's kind of the primary goal as a singer, is to be able to control that and use that to your advantage. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the Vocal Vibe. We'll come back in a few weeks. I think we're doing registers next, right, guys? I believe we're talking about registers next. I believe so.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Have a great week or couple weeks, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one.